us for today's podcast live. Our focus today is going to be again the supply chain impact of American Israeli Iran war. We talked about it before that it's actually three aspects of the war: the geopolitical impact, the religious impact, and then the global supply chain impact. And I honestly believe that this global supply chain dominance or lack thereof is more important in this war, and it's actually a war of trade routes and global supply chain. And unfortunately, it's going in the wrong direction as opposed to what the architects may have designed. So, as we talked about it, that China has a pretty good dominance of global supply chain routes and trade routes and economic corridors in global south. And global south is really 80% of world population, and just the state of Hormuz control 20% of world oil and gas and 30% of its fertilizer raw material. As we discussed, that oil is not just a direct fuel and energy source, but also it has many derivatives that are used in many industries, starting from fertilizer to chemicals to even pharmaceutical, even our daily commodities, or daily even food products. It's not just the packaging, but also there are lots of other materials we use. For example, the toothbrush you take an example of. But on the other hand, if you talk about many pharmaceutical, there is a lot of consumption of petroleum derivatives that are used in chemicals that are hence used in pharmaceutical. So it has a far-reaching impact on the supply chain, and China really is sort of controlling global south supply chain. But of course, America wants a piece of it. But China has very smartly developed these corridors, and I discussed in my previous video that how they have developed 8 different corridors, and it's already doing $1 trillion trade on those routes, and it's going to be far bigger impact very soon. And unfortunately, it seems to us that how our leadership have started this war, and unfortunately, I have to call it that started this war. I wish I didn't have to say that, but reality is we had a choice of dialogue, but we sabotaged the dialogue and we really started this war. And now I'm further shocked to see that President Trump is saying that we are shocked. We didn't know that they're gonna attack other, Gulf countries. Really? I don't know what kind of chess we are playing. That sometime there should be a limit of naiveness. That how naive could anybody be to think about that Iran is not going to bomb any local bases or any other Gulf countries, when Iran was saying that we retaliate and we will hit the American assets. In the past, they did not hit American assets in the Gulf countries, but now this was a do or die situation for them. So unfortunately, they had to do it because that was their only, way of retaliating. Now, here's another very important aspect of the war, which I have not seen any analyst discussing it, because the relationship of this particular angle is with supply chain and also by understanding the history of Iran. I must share this with you that many people ignore, or most people ignore this impact. Iran is very well known in the history to develop their own war tactics. So when Arab got to know Iran, or when, as we know, that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was born in 571 AD, and then, that power, it was 23 years after that, he died. I'm sorry, 63 years after that he died, but it was really the 23 years of his, uh, I would say, preaching the religion Islam, 13 years in Mecca and 10 years in Medina. And it was in Medina when Salman Farsi, a gentleman named Salman Farsi, who then became companion, and all companions are called as Sahabi in Arabic. So that means a companion. And we say, Salman Farsi, Razillah Talano, means a companion of Prophet Muhammad. May God please with him. So when he came looking for Prophet Muhammad, because he has heard from rabbis and Christians, priests, that there is going to be a man in this land which is going to become prophet and is going to dominate the whole world. So it's a long story, but the short of it is that he became the companion of Prophet Muhammad. He believed him, he followed him, he became his follower and sort of disciple. And Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, always had a habit to ask his companion, his team, by and large, that how should we fight any war, how should we make a collective decision. So when there was going to be an attack on Medina by the Confederate army, and there is a chapter in Quran called Ahzab. Ahzab means a confederation, a united army. So what happened was that the Meccans thought that we should all join our hands, because they had a very big blow in Battle of Badr. And then after that, they had a battle of Uhud, and then they said, you know what, we should really do a big blow to Muslims and should get rid of them once for all. And at the fifth Hijri, like fifth years of Prophet Muhammad's, peace be upon him's, time in Medina, they bring a huge Confederate army. They had all the Arab tribes united together against Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And he asked his companion, what should we do? And different companions gave different opinion. Some of the companions were giving opinion that we sit in Medina and we wait for army to come, because they always had a defensive war. And then Salman Farsi, who was the gentleman, came from Iran looking for Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And he basically advised that we should dig a huge trench outside of Medina. Yes. Because Iranian had these war tactics which Arabs were not familiar with. So on the opinion of Salman Farsi, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, took the advice of other Sahabas, companions, and they basically agreed to go outside of Medina between the two mountains. They dug a huge trench, which was almost 3 meter deep and 3 meter wide, and then almost 3 miles long. So they dug that trench so that from one mountain to another mountain, this become like not a wall, but a huge trench. Now the enemy cannot pass. And if the enemy try to pass through the horse, then the horse will go deep in it and it will be very difficult for them to pass. That's very interesting. So, that's a very interesting story. And then, of course, the enemy had a very, very difficult time to pass it, and they were holding off, and finally the big tornado came, and the enemy really got very, I'll say, out of their control, and the elephants and the horses and the camels really ran away, and Meccans had to really turn around and go without getting any success. So why am I telling you this story is because we might be surprised. I mean, there is a lot of news that Iran has dug trenches and tunnels all around the Gulf Coast, and especially in the Gulf of Oman, in the state of Hormuz, in between the Oman and Iranian border, that 3 miles, and with there is shallow water, they have tunnels, and then also along the coast from a state of Hormuz to that it's called Kharg Island, and Kharg means really the Thorn Island, which was useless island. That's where Iran's refineries, staging station is, and that's what kind of there were news that it was hit. But Iran has a control. So from the Strait of Hormuz to all the way to that Kharg Island, they basically have all that coastline not just bugged, but I have tunnels all around it. And those tunnels are then, to my understanding and knowledge, have all kind of, small submarines and uh, Chinese satellite system and all those missiles set up that if any country or any nation try to surpass that and try to control the Strait of Hormuz through that way, it will become not difficult but almost impossible. So if that's the case, and then again, we all know by this time that Iran has a very decentralized army, and there is a certain, section of army who's guarding just that area, and they have their own strategy and they have their own connectivity, in my opinion, with China and Russia. So it seems almost impossible to control that area. And then, if that area still remains under Iranian control, two things will happen. Number one, Iran will dictate and will be able to get his favorable terms for opening the Strait of Hormuz. And secondly, the control of global supply chain, especially in global south, will remain with Iran, Russia, and China. And it's going to be even stronger control. And what's going to happen is the trickling effect going to be that all those Gulf countries, because they have to do the trade through this route, and they are always looking for their safety and security, instead of looking toward the United States, they're going to start looking toward China and Russia, and perhaps even Iran as well. So uh, as a supply chain student, I would say that we should really plan our supply chain for next a year or so. I'm not saying this war is going to be that long. I don't think so. I don't think anybody can afford it. And again, I do not think that Iran is going to get nukes or anything like that, because that also have a very, very dire consequences. That's very dire consequences. That would be the biggest third world war, unfortunately. I don't think that's going to happen. And I don't think American public is ready for it, because American public, by and large, is very much against this war. Why? Another reason is this is the first war of I know of American first war where America is actually putting their resources and money, not really taking any partnership. It used to be always either EU or Middle East supporting the war, both economically, fund wise, and as well as financially, and as well as uh, you know structurally, emotionally, and with their infrastructure as well. This is the first war where we are really fighting our war with our own money, with our own resources, with our own army, and also we are pretty lonely in the world in that case. Unfortunately, we already started a lot of rumbling of all this kind of tariffs and trades in Greenland and Iceland, and we had all kind of alienation already. And on top of it, cherry on top, we started this, and now we are saying, oh, we are shocked that they Iran retaliated and Iran would do this and Iran would do that. Really? Even even a student like me would know, because Iran was openly saying that if we are attacked, we will attack American bases. We will attack, on American allies. Why do we even think we are that naive that we didn't even look at it? Just like somebody's going to play chess and not even looking at what they have on their side. I mean, I don't know how could we be that naive? But anyway, whatever the situation is, but now we are in this situation. I honestly believe and I hope that this war get curtailed, but unfortunately, it's not going to be the best thing for American economy and American supply chain, but it will just have actually more Chinese and then Russian Iranian dominance. And we should plan our supply chain our business, I'll say trading, as well as our, shipping arrangements and our what have you, and our cost. I mean, the cost is definitely going to go up no matter what. Before it comes down in a year or so, it's going to go up, unfortunately. So we should plan our, cards and our logistic plan, our schedule, our production plans accordingly, and we should really keep a very good eye on this region, because this region is, no matter what, going to play a very big role in the world global supply chain and the global economy. Until next time, God bless us all. Thank you.